one doctor told me, she's like, we'd rather wait to start chemo when you're in the second trimester. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, but we talked to oncology and they said you would not make it that long. I didn't believe the diagnosis. Like, I didn't, you know what I mean? The first question one of the first questions was this a planned and wanted pregnancy? And I didn't realize the significance of that at the time. I was just like, yes, no question, yes, And she was like, well, we're going to consult with maternal fetal medicine and, we're going to see what we can do. And she said at that time she told me that, I had B cell ALL. She did not know at the time if I had the Philadelphia Chromosome or not. So she wouldn't know that result until the next day. The next day, she told me I did have the Philadelphia chromosome. 25% of ALL patients get it. She said it makes it harder to treat and it makes it a high risk for relapse. And I was like, okay, still in disbelief, The one doctor told me, she's like, we'd rather wait to start chemo when you're in the second trimester. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, but we talked to oncology and they said you would not make it that long. And like, that was another like moment, like I'll never forget, because I was like, wait, I'm weeks away. I'm potentially weeks away from dying if I don't get, it was just like crushing. And I was like, okay. Like that was that was a really, I don't think I'll ever forget that moment, because it made it real. And it also made me say, okay, what do we have to do? Because I have a baby and we need to get across this finish line.
The words, you have cancer is hard enough and heavy enough. Plus having a baby, so you're considering these two lives really at the same time and being overwhelmed, and then being told maybe a matter of weeks or months really for you to address this, right? To live. What I'm hearing is you had a great relationship with the oncologist and with this maternal fetal team that was able to work together well. And had you ever, I guess that was enough, maybe it sounds like, to make you feel confident that you were in good hands? I mean, had you ever thought about a second opinion at all?
No, because what I did is the nurse told me who my attending, the doctor would be. And so I Googled the doctor, and like I read her reviews. And I said, okay, she sounds, like she's a pretty good doctor. And then once I talked to her, like she was like a friend, like it was just like this, she fit me well. She's also a professor. This was at Thomas Jefferson University, so it's a college. So that was a plus too. I just got the feeling that she really cared. It was a very tricky situation. To be completely honest, it would have been easier to treat me if I weren't pregnant, if I had decided to terminate.
Do you mind sharing, and you don't have to if it's a little too personal, but with you and your partner thinking about, did you have conversations right away about this? How did you approach that conversation?
Well, they gave me statistics, of course. And I knew that, I would be harder to treat because I'm pregnant. And, but they assured me that they believed that they could get me through this pregnancy. And my husband was there, as we were discussing this, and he and I didn't have to talk because he knew that we wanted the same thing. Like, we planned this baby. The tough thing was there was a risk. They wanted to wait until I was in the second trimester because there's a risk of leading to death of, spontaneous miscarriage in the first trimester. Because they couldn't, I couldn't wait, they were able to put me on steroids that kind of calmed the cancer down until I got to the second trimester. My husband and I, we knew that because this is an acute cancer, it's fast moving, you can't wait. And, it to me, it almost, you didn't want to explain this to people because, this, especially now, this is a big thing. But, the moment, if I had gotten to that point where, I couldn't continue the pregnancy, and I'm glad that I would have at the time, that I had the option to say, yes, I want to, or no, so that was, I remember the doctors telling me I had up to 24 weeks to terminate. And that just stayed on my mind. Like, a lot of, they were just doing their job, but it was just, it was, whew. My son pretty much saved my life. And I'm like, as long as, I can get through this, then, I want him with me. Like, I know it would be easier if he wasn't, but no. And I had this faith that he was going to be completely okay. I was afraid, but I just knew that he would be fine because I felt that I was doing the right thing for both of us at that time.
And that's a beautiful thing. And I love how you described it as your baby boy, Michael,
Yes.
saved your life. Michael was born a little bit premature, right? But healthy, otherwise healthy. Can you share more about that?
We, wanted to, I was due in November, but I got to 32 and a half weeks. What happened was I ended up getting meningitis, after my port got infected. So I got meningitis and I was sick. So he, started, his fetal heart rate dropped and they rushed me upstairs. I think I went into the ER at 12:09. He was out by 12:33. He was 3 pounds, 8 ounces, completely healthy. He stayed in the NICU for 37 days. That was hard. As for now, he's 9 months. He's met every milestone. He's perfect. All of this, like, the worst, having cancer, like, how they say there's like a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Like, that was my pot of gold. It was just like, I forgot that I had cancer. Like, it was just I know all mothers feel that way, but it's different.
You talked about being pregnant with cancer. I mean, and this is, it doesn't happen all the time, but it does happen to a good number of women. Do you have any message to any of them who might be watching, their care partners, about, anything, what you've learned in the process? Is there anything you wish you had done differently?
But I would say, yeah, the main thing is just to focus on, this child that's growing inside of you, and that this too shall pass. And once you have that baby, you'll forget all about the things that you went through. And so people told me that and I didn't believe it. Like, I forgot, I forgot about all of that because you have this baby against all odds. For me, people were afraid to ask about my pregnancy because they knew I had cancer. It was almost like they pitied you, but that bothered me. So you almost have to rise above that and just focus on the baby, focus on, life after cancer. That's what kept me going. it was tough. I never thought about dying before. Like I never thought, you know, that, but those number, like seeing those numbers, like everything kind of flashed through my head, you know, and I said to myself, I went through so much